Let's talk about it. Each Friday at this time, host Dan and Susan Johnson interview guests who are involved in their community. The show challenges conventional thoughts, probes for answers, remembers the past, imagines the future, and gets to the heart of the matter. Let's Talk About It is brought to you by Columbia Ford Kia, Route 6 in Columbia, Connecticut, and Gates GMC Nissan, Route 66, the Boston Post Road, North Windham, USA. Opinions expressed do not necessarily reflect those of WILI staff, management, or sponsors. Now, let's join our hosts with their guests, and let's talk about it.
Hey, Dennis O'Brien back again on Let's Talk About It, here with Matt Rupar and Susan Johnson is to my left. That is unusual, Susan. I'm a little bit out of sorts today because I usually sit on the left end of the table, depending on how you look at it.
I put you in the middle today, Dennis.
You got me in the middle. You got me in the middle. Stuck in the middle with you.
You're going to see how it feels for our guests.
Yeah, I can sing too.
We have a wonderful guest coming who is in a meeting right now, but will be here in a little bit. Our state senator, Flexer, yes. She's been here working with me at the Capitol all the way through to Sine Die, the end of session, and we are very, very excited about all the things that we've brought back to the town of Windham, Eastern Connecticut, and to the state of Connecticut. So we are going to be talking about that, right, Dennis?
Yeah, I've been real busy lately, I've been... You've been busy down at the Capitol. I've been busy here. I'm familiar with 4 different towns in the area, okay? And I want to give a shout-out to the people who are the chief elected officials in all 4 towns. And I want to start with Mayor Tom DeVivo. Does a marvelous job as our mayor, heading up the town council, who's also doing a marvelous job. And it's a difficult job. It is not easy. It's not easy in any of these towns. Over in Eastford, small town, I'm connected with Eastford. Deb Richards doing a wonderful job as first selectman, and she's got a great board of selectmen to work with. It's a great town. And working very hard, but issues issues are hard. It's so hard. You have to provide all these services to the towns, and it does cost money. Anyway, moving right along, over in Andover, you got Jeff McGuire. He's a great first selectman, and that is another great town. And they work hard, and they're providing all kinds of great services to the people of Andover. And the other town I want to talk about is Chaplin. Chaplin has, as a new first selectman, Juan Roman II was the first selectman now, and now they have James Harrington. Juan is still on the board along with Leslie Ricklin, James Harrington, and I mentioned all 3 of them. They're the board of selectmen, doing a great job in Chaplin. And governing is not easy, folks. If you think it's easy, you got to try it. It's not easy. It costs money. And there's a lot of services that people expect, and they do. All these people I mentioned, they do provide the services with the help of their staffs and all kinds of people all over town, and also the public who supports them. And I just wanted to say that to start the show.
Well, I want to thank the staff that helps me the most, that connects here with the studio, and Francisco Munoz, who is our community coordinator for the legislature, and you see his information on there, and also Jillian Devang, and he is also does a wonderful job in terms of as a press agent. So Desero is his last name, Julian Desero. So anyway, I just want to, thank everybody who helps me as well, because it's a great thing. I can't do all of these things ourselves. And also, we have to think about here the people on the local level. As you mentioned, Tom DeVivo, our mayor, does a good job, but we also have Lynn Ide, who's the chair of the Board of Ed, and we have the finance committee, and having all these different committees to deal with, and their angles are all a little bit different. So we need a good town manager to be able to explain things to them and explain how those things work. We need a great superintendent of schools, Gamaro. She does a great job, and she really gets how everything works. And so does our town manager, who works very, very well with our council. They're really smart people, and they understand the state. And the state is, because it's old, And we're gonna, because it's older, an older state compared to the rest of the states in the nation, it has a lot of things that have been passed on from century to century. And we are still dealing with the history of the state and applying new types of things that may be easier for other states to do because they were started a lot later than when the state of Connecticut was started.
And don't forget, Susan, there's a lot of problems that have been created recently for all Connecticut towns because simply because the federal government has been cutting off assistance to the states, and our state is no exception. The Department of Education is pretty much gone, and there's not a lot of funding anymore going into local food programs. The soup kitchen is overwhelmed, and things are not easy in Connecticut. Our state government has done a marvelous job, headed up by Governor Ned Lamont, who we've had on the show several times, taking care of business, taking care of things that need to be taken care of. And I just wanted to credit everybody. And I know, Susan, you mentioned a lot of people who work together with you down at the Capitol to help represent Windham. And there's nobody who works together with you better than, she's walking through the door right now. It's our state senator, May Flexer.
Hey, welcome
May
to
Flexer
the show,
is
Senator
here.
Flexer. Yes, thank you so much for
we're
being
just
with
talking
us.
about what a great job you and Susan have done at the Capitol, and how our local public officials have done really, really well, working very hard in a difficult milieu, and we've lost all kinds of money coming from the federal government.
Yeah, we were just talking about how we're losing $1 billion a year from the federal government because of the bill that was passed in July 2025 and signed into law by President Trump. And so, but it has cut out about $1 billion a year over the next 5 years, and that's the projection at this point in time. I know that our Attorney General William Tong has been working hard to recover some of that money, and he will continue to work and keep up that fight. So yes, but here's somebody who's a great partner to keep up the fight and take care of the region. Our state Senator May Flexer, thank you so much for joining us today.
Thanks for having me.
Okay, great to have you here, May. And I'm not used to being in the middle here. I usually sit over here. Susan has taken my seat, and I'm stuck in the middle. I'm a thorn between two roses. Okay, that's interesting because
No.
no. Okay. All right. Anyway. No. Okay.
So we just want to say how hard we worked together to make sure we brought all that money back to the town of Windham, right, May?
That's right.
And talk a little bit about our coordination, because that is something that I am just so honored to be able to work with you and work for this region. And you work so hard for this region. So let's talk a little bit about what we brought back to Windham.
Well, thank you. I know that we're both really grateful to have the opportunity we have to serve this community in the state legislature, and I'm lucky to represent 8 other towns as well. And, I was pleased this year to have the opportunity. I'd been working for several months, as you know, Susan. In the state Senate, we had a special committee where we've been working for months on ECS and working really diligently to recognize how keeping the foundation so low for so long in terms of the per pupil payment that towns could count on to support their educational systems, what damage that was doing to so many towns across the state, but particularly here in Windham. And so to be, doing that work for months and to see it come to fruition with the kind of work we were just able to accomplish in the last week or so is just incredible. I mean, this is the kind of support our town and our schools need. Our schools here in Windham are something to be incredibly proud of, and they need more support. And so I'm so pleased to have worked in partnership with you to bring home almost $3.8 million additional dollars in educational aid to support the great students and families and educators that we have in this community.
What a great plus that'll be. First of all, you and I worked together to make sure that the town of Windham's Board of Education money was up to date with the education cost sharing grant, which just was put into effect finally in total this year. And now we're moving forward with the whole state and not being left out anymore because of your work, May, and because of the work that the House Democrats have done as well to make sure that our schools, the Windham schools, are getting the money that they're supposed to get in accordance with the new education cost sharing grant funds that have been put together this session. And we had a press conference in the House Democrats to do this, and you had a press conference in the Senate Democrats to do this.
Yeah, we had a little difference between the House and the Senate, but it doesn't matter because we got it done. And you and I never had a disagreement on how to bring home the educational funding for Wyndham.
Yeah, that's correct. Of course, there's always that, and the joke is, the Senate, they're not agreeing with us, and the Senate always says, oh, the House ain't agreeing with us, and and that's the joke that we've had. And in fact, some people actually took it seriously, and I said, hey, wait a minute, I get on with my state senator, and we do well, and if you have issues, make sure you contact your state senator. Don't take the joke seriously.
That's right. That's right.
Okay, well, I'm here stuck in the middle, and I can't disagree with any of this. These two fine local women have done a wonderful job representing Wyndham, and in May's case, 8 other towns in the General Assembly, and I'm just so proud to have them here, and I'll be so proud to vote for them again and again and again, as long as they want to stay there. But our town is really needs the support from the state government, and we're getting it. We're getting what we deserve, and I'll tell you what. May mentioned our school system being great. It is a great school system. The teachers are great. The administration is great. We've got a wonderful, relatively new superintendent in Iris Gomero. She has been on our show. She's very impressive. She worked very hard this year on the budget. Was particularly difficult this year. This was a really difficult year until the legislature came through with this extra money, and the first, spearheaded by Senator Flexler and Representative Johnson. And she is really, really a great manager, a great administrator, and I expect great things from her and also from the Wyndham Public Schools in the future. I think things are getting better there. We're getting better results from our school system. Time and time again, we're hearing good news from the school system about all the schools doing better here, and it's because of the efforts being made by our legislators and by our Wyndham Public Schools, led by Iris Gomero. And I just can't say enough about that. And I got to point out that there is a budget referendum on Tuesday, and I will be there to vote yes to support all these hardworking people in town and our legislators who've done a great job doing the best they can to come up with budgets that will provide all the services that we need and then some. And then and you know what? It doesn't come cheap. It costs money, and we have. And I can say a lot about the town hall government as well, because I'm on the board of the taxing district board. I'm actually the vice president of taxing district board, and we cover police and fire. And our police and fire departments, I know because I've been intimately involved with them for a couple of years now on that board, and they do a great job for our citizens every day. Every day, our police are protecting us. Every day, our fire department is protecting us, putting out fires, taking people to the hospital, getting there in record times. Unbelievable how quickly they pick up people who need to go to the hospital, need to go somewhere else. It's amazing. It's an amazing group of people, and their budget is a little bit higher than it was last year, but you know what? Their services are multiple times better.
Absolutely. I have to say that the way that the town government is run as well by our town manager, Rob Zarnetsky, his work with the council and the people on the council, he really understands how everything works. And he is working hard on numerous things with us, and I can't help but mention geothermal. So of course, everybody's heard me talk about the geothermal before, and he and I are working on that, and I plan to be talking about that nationwide. I'm including people with the National Conference of Environmental Legislators to work on geothermal, and so we'll be having some more discussions, and we're working statewide on getting geothermal, so we'll have more sustainability in the state of Connecticut with a great new infrastructure. So I can't help but give a shout out to our town manager Zarnetsky and the work that he has been doing to make sure that we work together with Peter Millman, who is in Mansfield and has been working all over the state now about geothermal. I'm just thrilled about that.
Yeah, I ran into
We know you are.
Yeah, you can tell the excitement. I can feel it right here, sitting next to you in the middle. In fact, I'm almost knocked out of my chair by your excitement, and that's good. That's a good thing. It's good to be excited. It's good to you do a better job when you're enthusiastic, when you're excited, and that's what you two both do in your jobs at the Capitol and locally too, because you have to do things locally as well. You have to work with the council. You have to work with the Board of Education. You have to work with our police and fire departments, and again, we are doing very well in a very tough situation because largely because we're being shut off by the federal government, and Joe Courtney's doing a great job for us in Congress. But it's it's an uphill struggle because the Congress is not controlled by the Democratic Party, and we'll see what happens in November.
Yeah, well, we had Congressman Courtney here on the show, and of course he is very supportive of Senator Flexer and me and our work on Medicaid programs. And as everybody knows, and I've told everybody on the show before, we have a little bit less than 25,000 people here in Windham. Through 13,800 are on the Medicaid program. So it really makes a difference in terms of making sure that we all work together. Senator Flexer and I are working together to make sure that the people who are on Medicaid continue to receive the Medicaid support, because it's not just about the people on Medicaid, it's also about the providers. If the providers don't get the funding, then you and I and people who don't need Medicaid will also have a limitation on access to health care.
Yeah, and Susan, we're really lucky to have you serving in this role with your expertise in this area with regard to healthcare overall, but specifically around Medicaid. And let me just tie that back into the conversation we're having about education. As we've seen millions of people in this country thrown off of Medicaid in recent months, particularly young people, children suddenly being ineligible for Medicaid, that's having a real impact everywhere, particularly here in our community, as you just highlighted with how many people are covered by Medicaid. Right now, when a young person finds out that they're not covered by Medicaid, that family is making difficult choices about whether or not they can continue to pay for that kid's prescription medicines. They're making difficult choices about whether or not they can continue to see a doctor or a behavioral therapist. And what steps in to fill the gap for those families? It's our school system. Our school system is the support structure. When Medicaid is disappearing for so many people, our school system is there to try to help fill the gaps. And I know that there are families across our town who are having a difficult time making ends meet for a variety of reasons, but that loss of health care coverage is a big piece of it. And so the more we can take the resources that you and I fought so hard for and put it into the school system so that they can help these families. I know there are a lot of families that struggle when school's out of session, with food insecurity and being kids being hungry, frankly, and whole families being hungry. And so there's just so many ways that bringing this additional resources back to our town and back to our schools is helping to mitigate. You may not see a direct line from one policy to another, but it is there and the impact it has on people's families. And so as there are so many things that are happening at the federal level that are hurting people, it's more important than ever that at the state and local level we step up and make sure that people can continue to be supported.
I'm so glad you mentioned the schools, because the school-based health centers are really, really important. They're a great function. Hartford Healthcare and the Board of Education have worked together for a couple of decades now, creating school-based health centers, center access for the students. And in the meantime, over time at the state, you and I have worked to make sure that those connections are made in terms of making sure that the Medicaid program subsidizes the services through the school-based health centers work, so that they're able to get the funding that they're supposed to get for the students who do qualify for health care. And then, of course, the students who have no support, they're also there for them. But they are also there to help find the right support, because sometimes it's complicated, right? It can be very complicated because of the changes that we've made. And, of course, Senator Flexer, you and I worked together in special session back in November to make sure that we got $72 million over to the Affordable Care Act, or the Health Care for All Access CT Connecticut, because Access Healthcare Connecticut also is another way. If people are no longer qualifying for Medicaid, they can get the subsidy through Access Healthcare Connecticut, and we will be blasting more information about that, because I think it will be really good for people to take a look again and see how we changed the rules for Connecticut. Because even though people didn't have the Medicaid, they were able to sign up for the Access Healthcare Connecticut and get that subsidy to actually have a regular insurance policy, and then be able to continue to pay the provider, which makes sure that all the other people who have the insurance and can pay for it actually continue to have access to health care, because we do not want to cut back on the provider's ability to provide the care to everybody, and that's really a big important thing. It's important because here we are in Windham, and we have our federally qualified health center, and the increases that we made for the Medicaid reimbursement will also help our people at the our FQHC generations, and it will also provide more support to Harvard Hospital's Wyndham Hospital Division, and there will be some division also that Senator Flexer and I will be working on in terms of how to deal with rural health care funding. Mm-hmm. So it's very, very, very exciting. Dennis has his hand raised.
Well, hearing you talk about about healthcare and how it affects children and how it's impacted by Wyndham Public Schools, and that how they step in when need be to do all kinds of things for kids. It's not just education; it's everything. It's socialization. School is so important. Education is the most important function local government does, and we do it really well here. Our team at Wyndham Public Schools, as we said earlier, is doing a great job. So that's number one. Education is our number one need, and right behind education is public safety, and that's why I'm here, to some extent, to promote. Supporting the budget for the school, for the fire department and police department that's voted on by the people in the city. They do such a wonderful job of keeping us safe in so many different ways, and they contribute to helping to keep children safe in our town. So it's public safety and education. Those are the two major responsibilities of local government, and in Wyndham, we are doing it very well. And we're doing it very well because of the people that we have doing it and the support that they're getting from the state government, especially from Senator Flexer and Representative Johnson. And I'm so glad that you're both here today to talk about that, because we have this big budget vote coming up on Tuesday, and I want to urge all my friends, everybody I know, everybody who loves children, everybody who loves being safe, being publicly safe, I think you should all go out and vote yes for the budgets on Tuesday. There's three budgets. There's the town budget, there's the education budget, which is vitally important, and there's also in Willimantic there is the police and fire budget.
Mm-hmm. Okay, Dennis. Well, that's great. We're going to roll up this segment right now, and we're going to come back right after these messages. This is Susan Johnson with Dennis O'Brien and our very special guest today, Senator May Flexer. We're so glad to have you here, Senator Flexer, and we will be right back after these messages. Welcome back, everyone. This is Susan Johnson. I'm here with my co-host, Dennis O'Brien, and our very special guest this evening, our State Senator May Flexer. And, May, I just want to say that I am just so pleased to work with you, because another thing that we have done over the last 2 years is we have really brought to the forefront how to fund, and the beginning of how to fund our special education programs. And this is something that both sides of the aisle have asked for years and years. And finally, we were able to create the Select Committee on Special Education and also add some of the costs, not everything, but some of the costs to the Education Cost Sharing Grant. And so that'll take up some of the costs for our towns that have really been shouldering the whole situation for special education students ever since there was the deinstitutionalization back in the 90s. And the deinstitutionalization I'm not complaining about. What I'm complaining about is the adjustment that the state should have made back then about making sure that we adjusted how we deal with the cost of special needs students, which are very valuable, and they can do excellent work. And we have done some work on those areas, but now we're going to be able to do some more. So I can't thank you enough, Senator Flexer, for your help there.
Well, I want to applaud you, Susan, for your great work on the select committee that we had in the last 2 years on special education, and so important for a community like Wyndham to have its voice in the center of that conversation. And I think it's another example of, a reaction Connecticut's had to have to the changes at the federal level. I think for a long time, as most folks know, many of those special education mandates came from the federal government. I think in Connecticut, we sort of sat around for a long time thinking eventually they'll meet their promise and actually pay for these. And last year we realized, well, that certainly wasn't going to happen in an administration that wasn't just not funding special education, but going to eliminate and dismantle the Department of Education. Mm-hmm. And so I think the meaningful change that you are a key part of leading has been really important. And we all know in this corner of the state and throughout the state that the cost of special education, that service is so vital to so many students and their families, and the supports that they get are so necessary. But the cost is a lot, and it's really difficult for school systems and towns to plan around those costs. And so the work that we're doing, again, that you helped lead, that's going to help mitigate those costs and change some of the delivery of special ed while still guaranteeing that families can count on the high quality support for their students, I think is really important, and is going to make Connecticut in many ways a national model, with funding, more and more funding coming from state government to help school systems provide special education, but still empowering students and their families to have the needs met in a way that is best for each individual student.
Thank you so much for that. I appreciate your kind words. And I just want to say that one of the things that you and I know, and people in the legislature know, that when we provide more resources to the local communities, whether it's for education, special education, or for town costs, that what happens is the property tax goes down. And the burden on the local property taxpayer goes down. And that's one of the things that we are going to be talking about, I think, all through the next session, because what we need to really, people need to understand the impact the state has, and they need to understand also when they communicate with me, when they communicate with Senator Flexer, when they communicate with the people on the council, that these communications and the understanding of how things work are the ways that we will be able to improve how the state works. Not that I'm very proud of the state, let me just say that. I'm very proud of what we've done this session, but I want to make sure everybody is working with us and communicating all their different ideas.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I just wanted to say, you talked about how the people in the legislature knew about the needs for special education support in the towns, and I'm sure May Flexer knows it quite well because she's representing 9 towns, and you hear it from everybody. And I'm contractually connected with 3 towns, and I live here in the 4th town, and I know an awful lot about what's going on in those 4 towns, and I hear about it all the time. Mm-hmm. It is one of the main concerns that local officials have, and that is getting funding for special education. And I think the move in the right direction that is coming from the Capitol, from the General Assembly, from you two people is welcome, very welcome by all of these towns.
Thank you so much. We are starting a developmental disability caucus and a disability caucus, so we'll be working on that, seeing how our work with the Human Services Committee finally worked. And a couple of years ago, we had somebody on from Horizons to talk about the work that we did for the disabled and how we expanded opportunities for our students so that they can be in the school system all the way to age 22. And now having more support going to the schools for these kinds of programs puts them to work, by the way, and puts everybody in a situation where now so many people who are developmentally disabled are working. They have their oversight people, and they are absolutely pleased to be able to work and have that sense of community because they are now moving along. So these things that we're doing will show great progress and great opportunities for people with special needs. And we'll be working on that. And I have to also give a plug for my Diabetes Caucus because I'm working on that as well. And I think that I've just started that at the Capitol. And we want to, if you're listening to this or you hear this later, please get in touch with me because we're including medical providers on diabetes. We're including all kinds of people to make sure we get information out about how to address determining whether or not somebody might be born with the propensity for type 2 diabetes or type 1 diabetes. And I have to give the plug because one of the things that I know as a family, coming from a family that has lots of type 2 diabetes, one of the things that I did is, Senator Flexer mentioned, I spent a lot of time representing people in Medicare Medicaid cases with healthcare issues, is I learned that if you go on a diabetic diet when you're younger, and I did that because I learned about all this stuff back in the day, you can put off becoming a type 2 diabetic. And I'm a little older now, and I am still pre-diabetic. So I just want to say I've been able to stop that. On the other hand, I had a very good friend I went to school with Her parents didn't know she had type 1 diabetes, and I met up with her a couple of years just before she passed, and I used to see her regularly, but her condition had deteriorated so from the type 1 that she actually passed away in her 30s. So this is one of the things that I'll be working on. I'll be trying to work with people. I have a national group, and I just found out as a Lions Club member internationally, the Lions Club is working on diabetes as well. So I'm going to be working on it statewide and nationally and internationally.
That's great.
I'm very
I
excited.
hope you have time to spend some time at home with me. It's great to have you around. And I like being the boss when you're not there, but at the same time, I need your support.
Well, I'm glad to support you. I'm glad.
I appreciate it, Susan. You're very good. I mean, hey, I'm still doing quite well at my advanced age, and I attribute a lot of it to you.
Oh, well, thank you
And
for
I
that.
think you're the kind of person, and May's the kind of person, you make things better, not only for yourselves and your families, but also for many, many, many other people. Those are the kind of people we want in Hartford representing us. And I'll tell you what, there's a lot of people like you, maybe not operating at the same level, but there's an awful lot of people like you that are doing a great job here, right here in the town of Windham, for the people of Windham. And they're doing it at a relatively, I know some people don't believe this, but they're doing it at a relatively minimum cost. I mean, it is, we have lost employees. State government has lost employees. The cost of living has gotten bigger and bigger, and it affects government too. So there's fewer people to serve you on the local level, and there's fewer people to serve you on the state level in terms of state employees. So you got to understand it costs money to provide these services, and these people have to be paid. Most of them are not volunteers. I mean, you people here, our legislators are volunteers. They work for a very, very low salary, but they do it because they love it. They love the people of the state. They love the people of this region. They want to help others. You got to have it in you to want to help others if you're going to work with government, and that's what government is all about. Government does a lot for people. And sometimes people forget that. Sometimes they don't recognize it, and we need to remind you. And that's why I think, our policemen, our police persons and fire persons, I got to say persons because there's a lot of women now, which is great in our police department and our fire department. They work very, very hard for the people of our city and our town because they work for the Windhams too, because they provide ambulance service out in the Windhams. And you know what? If our police are needed out there, they'll go out there too.
Well, there's mutual aid, of course, and that's one of the things that we actually do provide. And it's a very excellent point, Dennis, to talk about the mutual aid that goes on, and also the fact that we're town-wide for the ambulance. That's always been the case for several years now, and this is something that we are very appreciative to our police fire. The other thing I want to mention, now that you discussed that, is the fact that we have social work people working with police and fire, and that's really a great innovation that we had. And we have to give a shout out to Katina Cabana Owen, who has been very, very helpful in creating that opportunity.
Yeah, I want to thank the police chief, fire chief, their assistants. They brought that on, and the final point I want to make is about what a great job our police and fire departments do. Is all people who work in government, they are sacrificing a lot, and they're doing things for other people in a big way. And you know what? If you vote yes on their budgets, that makes them feel better too. It's recognition of the service that they provide above and beyond. Okay, and I include the volunteers out in the Windhams too, in the fire departments. They do a great job, and they work very closely with our Willimantic Fire Department. And our chief, Ron Palmer, is always quick to recognize that. He really appreciates the people out in the Windhams, Windham Center, South Windham, and North Windham, the fire departments. They do a wonderful job. This town really works together when we really have to. And you know what? It's the people that are involved in the government agencies that really lead the way. We get support from the public, but we got to have them, and we really need to recognize them and to make them know that we appreciate them. And one way to do that is to go out and vote on Tuesday, yes, on all the budgets.
That's fabulous, Dennis. I really appreciate that. And, I want to just do a little bit of a comment about how here we have early college opportunity in the Windham Public Schools. We have the community colleges here, and we have Eastern Connecticut State University here, and we have UConn next door. And I know, Senator Flexer, you're on the Higher Education Committee. You want to talk a bit about that and how it's such an important thing to have, opportunities for, either certifications for different types of business jobs or getting degrees.
Yeah, access to public higher education is so important, I think, for so many people in our state, and it's uniquely important here in this community. As you mentioned, with Quinebaug Valley Community College just across the street here, looking at the sign right now, and with Eastern just up the hill and UConn just up the road, really important. And I've been squarely focused on making sure that higher ed is accessible for everyone. I'm so proud that Connecticut instituted free community college about 7 or 8 years ago. Glad we're expanding that each and every year for more people to qualify for it. Really thrilled at the program that we've taken it and now transitioned it so that once you finish that 2-year community college program, you can transition to our state universities and making a direct and even stronger direct pathway to Eastern and the other 3 state universities, and just making sure we're keeping it affordable. And I will, I guess this might be the one negative thing we have to say, we have a lot of work still left to do there. And that is my one great disappointment with the budget we passed this year. We continue to underfund higher education in our state. It's going to have an impact. It's not just going to have an impact in terms of keeping higher education accessible, like we were just talking about, and making sure that everyone can afford to go to college if they want to. But it's also going to have an impact in communities like ours, right? Those institutions in our community are a key part of our economy and the fabric of our community, culturally and in so many different ways. And so we've got to keep our feet to the fire. And frankly, we have to keep Governor Lamont's feet to the fire when it comes to convincing him that public higher education is worthy of more support than he's historically given.
Yes, I think we've seen a downgrading in terms of state support for a couple of decades now with respect to higher education. And back in the day when I went to college and when Dennis went to college, the actual cost, the higher education back in the day, now we have that little bit of history, and the state was funding higher education to the tune of about 70 to 80%. And over the last several years, we're down to about 30%. And we need to go back up gradually. But it didn't help to think that the federal government started to take away support from people who come from other countries and use our universities because we're the place internationally for education, and to have lost some of that tuition reimbursement isn't smart, and to have the president take that away wasn't smart, and so that is kind of like one of the things that I will have to continue to watch and make sure people understand that, the university system being an international center for universities, our country being like that was an amazing thing. And having that said, having Connecticut being an international spot as well, whether it's UConn or Yale or the other universities we have here, and then being right here in Eastern Connecticut and having amazing university opportunities and community college opportunities and high school educational early college educational opportunities is phenomenal. And so we're really working on it. And some of these things we're moving forward. The kids, I've had students contact me and say, "Hey, Representative Johnson, I got a whole associate's degree when I was attending Windham High," and that is an amazing thing to be able to do.
Absolutely. Well, I had tears in my eyes when I listened to you talk about community colleges, because if it wasn't for the fact that UConn was so inexpensive when I went, and if in the circumstances I was in, I didn't have any money. I didn't have much of anything. I had to work 30 hours a week and stacking shelves in the grocery store just to live. And I would be, if they had it back then, that's where I would have gone. I would have gone to community college. And the community colleges are such a valuable resource for the state of Connecticut, and the fact that some needy kids can go there and really bring themselves up economically this country has always been great with its upward mobility, and to make college so as expensive it is, it limits upward mobility, and that is not good. That is not what America is all about. America is, when I think about it sometimes, and I having been born as early as I was compared to you two.
Oh, cut it out.
Well, I mean, I just
Here's the competition.
Well, no, it's not competition, but I appreciate so much how much. And my parents worked in factories, and they were in unions, and I appreciate so much what public education, and labor unions are what made this country great. What made this country great. We need to increase our devotion to public education and to labor unions, and we are doing a great job here in town with public education. Our school system led by Iris Gomero and supported big time by Senator May Flexer and Representative Susan Johnson, and I hope everybody will go out and vote yes on the education budget next Tuesday.
And I would just add that, to Susan's point about affordability for higher education, in 1990, more than 50% of the budget for the University of Connecticut came from the state of Connecticut. Unfortunately, in this budget, we're down to less than 12%. So that pathway that you're talking about, Dennis, so powerfully is disappearing for some people. So it's great that we've got it, that anyone can go to the community college for free. Any recent high school graduate can go to a community college for free, but we've got to continue that support for public higher education. And I'm lucky to, work so closely in this arena with our neighbor, our good friend, Representative Greg Haddad from Mansfield. And, I do hope that the governor will start to devote more money to keep tuition down at our public higher education institutions. But I do have to give some credit. Representative Haddad and I have had some good conversations with Governor Lamont in recent weeks, and I know he recognizes at least the challenges that UConn is facing with regard to the federal cuts and the research grants that have disappeared in the last 12 to 15 months that UConn counts on, and not just counts on for their operations, but counts on for the cutting edge research, that life-saving research. And I am hopeful that the governor will have some exciting things to say about research money and state support in the coming weeks.
Well, along with Representative Johnson, you, May Flexer, and Greg Haddad are excellent advocates, and I'm sure you're going to make some headway with the governor.
Thank you. I hope so, too.
I know.
He's got a good heart.
You and Senator Flexer and Representative Haddad have been really diligent advocates for the free community college. And I am a community college graduate, and so is
Me
Senator.
too.
We're both from the community college. I had a very difficult childhood with my father passing at the age of 5, and I had my single mom working very hard. But, without the community college, I don't think that we would have been able to, it would have been very difficult for me to do anything else otherwise. But Senator Flexer, we're down to our last 2 minutes. Give us a summary if you could.
A summary of everything we've talked about today. Well, let's see. Federal government is bad. Local government is good. You and
Very
I are
good.
doing everything we can at the state level to support, to be that in between, to mitigate the impact of the devastating choices that are being made at the federal level, and making sure that the people who are doing the good work on the ground are supported in every way we can, and that Connecticut is standing up for the values that we all share as a state, and making sure that those those dramatic choices that are being made at the federal level are having a minimal impact on the families and the people that we represent here in this corner of the state.
I can't thank you enough, Senator Flexer, for being here on the show on Let's Talk About It with us. And I can't thank you enough for the amazing hard work we're able to do together, because I couldn't do it without you, Senator Flexer.
Thank
couldn't
you.
do it.
Right back at you.
I want to thank Matt Rupar, too, for doing a great job as our producer and for doing a great job on his show, Homegrown.
Yes, sir.
Homegrown, okay. Homegrown was just on before us, okay. And we've had a great show today with our favorite senator, Senator May Flexer, and my favorite state representative, of course, Representative Susan Johnson. And I hope personally, this is speaking for me, Dennis O'Brien, please go out and vote yes Tuesday on all the budgets. Thank you so much. We'll be back next week with another great show.